So, STYKO, what would you do, right, if you were on a team, maybe back in, say, 2018 or so, and it was a pretty good team, and then they benched you for a legend of the game, and then they went and won a tournament, and it was all right, but they decided that legend of the game actually wasn't very good, and then they just brought you back, and you didn't get to have the glory, but at least you were back on the team. What would you do?
So strangely, this might have had happened. It's a crazy story and a weird storyline, but yeah, I was benched. I came back, and what I would have done is that I take that opportunity to kind of show everyone that, you know, getting rid of me in the first place might have been a mistake. But then I realized during my career that I shouldn't be proving anything to anyone. It's kind of like I'm baiting myself. So what I should have done instead is just to fully grasp the opportunity to come back on a team that was performing really well and keep doing that. But we failed to do so. I feel like those couple of months I was away from the team didn't really help the team at all, despite them winning like ESL New York, which is crazy. But yeah, I took it. I think with my experience right now, I would have done things differently.
I kind of want to know, but I also feel like that's something for you to keep to yourself. I don't know. You can share what you would do differently if you want.
Well, it's a hindsight 2020, right? But I feel like I didn't really ask the team, like during the time when I was away, like what were their like problems, or what was the problem with Snax being my replacement, because that would at least let me know like how they're feeling about this whole period, what they disliked about him, so I can learn from it, right? To not repeat that mistake, because clearly it didn't work out at all. I mean, they either won a tournament or they bombed out last place of every other tournament. So there was like the consistency issue was huge. And I didn't really care during that time that I was away. I had my own new kind of team, which I didn't know if I'm going to be participating with on a lot of tournaments, which was Cloud9. I had my own problems, and I had to redefine myself as a player, new roles. And then I had to come back and kind of do what I was doing before. So it was kind of messy in my head as well. But yeah, I would definitely be more like trying to glue the team together, and I wasn't doing enough, in my opinion, on that.
Okay. Well, in that case, then we'll get into the podcast. For those of you who are, I don't know, either blind, deaf, or maybe just stupid, STYKO's here this week. Jack's, I think, currently flying to Cologne. So he'll be joining me this week. We're going to preview Cologne a bit, talk about FISSURE Playground a bit, and yeah, it's nice to have a player that, or at least a guest, I guess, and a player who's actually made a major playoffs, and not have Jack pretending like he made a major playoffs because he was a junior analyst for NIP. Would you say that counts, Martin?
Junior analyst, I don't think I have ever had that kind of a position, like in my team when I've played. It just shows how NIP is probably overstaffed with people running the team. But at the same time, I guess whatever he did, it worked. He was a part of the success, so
Well,
you know, I will take it. I will take it.
well, I wish I hadn't asked.
You
now. I
didn't
mean,
want to. You didn't want
no,
me to
I
say
didn't.
that,
No, I
right?
didn't. He literally got paid like 20 quid to watch like Movistar riders play a map of Vertigo or something. Which I guess,
Okay.
I think they were quite good at, weren't they? Actually, back in like 20, what would it have been? Stockholm 21. I think.
Spanish team, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were solid. Yeah, it was.
Well,
it might have been like pre-COVID, right? I think as well.
no, it was Stockholm, so post-COVID.
Oh, okay.
Or Antwerp, one of them.
Stockholm was during COVID. I remember us playing from the hotel rooms, and you have to be kind of isolated.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't.
It was
all...
like on the brink of it, you know. You had to still
Yeah.
get the checkups and everything.
Yeah. Well, it counts then. That's annoying. Run the intro music. Okay, so let's start with talking about FISSURE Playground then. Were you surprised when TYLOO won a $1 million event?
Oh yeah, man. I saw this tweet the other day from someone that they put like a top 8 playoff bracket of the FISSURE tournament and then ask a question, do you think that FISSURE tournament organizer had that kind of teams in mind when they announced the tournament? And yeah, you look at a $1 million event and then there are teams that are, let's say, outside the top 10. Well, obviously Australia is inside the top 10 right now, but I mean, it's a weird tournament. It's the start of the season, a lot of changes were happening, a lot of teams surprised me positively, and then obviously there were some negatives as well. It was kind of messy Counter-Strike. I didn't watch it too much because I had to undergo the surgery, so it was kind of painful for me to keep sitting and watching Counter-Strike, and let alone the bad Counter. I'm not saying it was bad Counter-Strike, but it was sloppy. Let's say I'm excited more for Cologne.
So a tournament like this, then I guess it's kind of weird to have one that's such high profile as what really is the season opener. But from the player's perspective, as to whether you're in the tournament or you're one of the other teams that declined the invite, do you look at the field in this tournament and the amount of new players and think this is going to be a marker for consistent results, or is maybe some of this going to be an anomaly? Because like you said, a few of the teams you maybe wouldn't have expected to be in the playoffs.
I think it's a good stepping stone to actually start the season strong for a lot of teams. I think it's like a good testing ground to see where we're currently standing, especially in terms of individual power. I guess a lot of teams that attended FISSURE, they've been practicing for at least like 10 days prior to the event, and therefore they maybe had to cut their break a little bit short, which might come and haunt some team at the end of the busy season. Well, there will be major in Budapest, we will see. People will be super tired, I can imagine. Like, you don't even know how much those 10 days of a shorter break could interfere with your mental state as well. So I think it's better to have this kind of an event compared to Cologne as a first event of the season. That scenario we've had, I think, previous years, where Cologne kind of started the second season, and in my opinion, it's not that bad. It's just that a lot of surprises happened in in a tournament with a lot of prize money. Therefore, it will affect VRS ranking a lot. And some teams that played well here, or played the group stage well, let's say, they got a lot of prize money, which will boost them up and potentially could even survive a whole season based on invites thanks to the FISSURE ground play, right? I mean, FISSURE Playground, right? Is it Playground? Ground play?
Playground. Yeah. Playground. Do you think that's a problem? Do you think that's like an issue that VRS still needs to address? Because it is this weird thing, right? Where like this tournament kind of is a tier 2 tournament, but it has a very, very good tier 1 prize pool that it does kind of manipulate VRS a bit. Is that an issue that still needs to be addressed within it that just hasn't been tested yet?
I don't know if I would name it an issue. I think it's just how it is. It's a new system, new way of thinking about points, and it's not an issue because everyone is like part of it. Everyone has equal kind of terms how to deal with it, and some people or like some organization decided to skip the tournament for the purpose of training more for Cologne, for example. Everyone has different strategy. I wouldn't call it an issue, but I would definitely call it like a change of vision. What do you want to do? Either grind for points from the get-go, attend as many tournaments, or are you going to just pick your tournaments carefully and hope that you overperform in those? And soon we will see which teams did the correct decision and which did poor decision, depending on their movement in the rankings. Because VRS ultimately, this was the first season of full VRS in effect, and we've already seen some breakthrough performances. let's say from NIP, going from unranked to top 25 EU. And then we've seen not a lot of teams like crash out completely, but I think the Liquid is, for example, on the brink of it, thanks to the way they're dealing with the season.
Yeah, we'll have some fun talking about them soon, I'm sure. Or at least I will. We'll see how unhinged you get. But let's talk about a couple of the teams from FISSURE Playground then. And we'll start with Chinese CS, I guess, because strong major performance for them, and now winning this here. Do you think the tide has kind of turned for Chinese CS, maybe somewhat off the back of the Mongols as well, or do you think we're just seeing, because they're actually kind of consistently at events again, maybe we're seeing something that might soon get anti-stratted out in terms of their performances?
It always happens here and there throughout even my career that there's a certain period in time where a certain Chinese team, usually it was TYLOO, that they just overperform for a couple of events, not even in the row, but like there is a certain period where they just win and get like deep runs, and then they're going to like crash out for a year or two, right? Not barely attending any events. And I think there's been a drought for a long time now that the Chinese team just didn't go that far. Obviously, Mongols is an Asian team, and that could have influenced the quality of practice as well in the overall region. But I'm surprised that two Chinese teams actually topped the group in FISSURE. TYLOO made it all the way to the final. It's not that they played bad, but I honestly think if you're playing with a coach as a stand-in, you should not be topping the group against teams like Astralis and IBR and Virtus.pro. But they did, and well, I'm just kind of impressed. Did they actually, even the first quarterfinal was with a coach, which is 3D Max, and that to me, like these wins to me makes no sense at all.
So I kind of get the Astralis one. Like I know their coach was a pro. Not too long ago, right? Like when did Zoking retire?
I think it was. I don't follow the scene too much, but I think it was a couple of years ago. He was definitely a player and a good one.
Yeah.
But I think it was part of this TYLOO roller coaster. You know, like one or two times they were good, and then for 2 years they were kind of like just a filler team at the events. So I didn't expect too much from him, and not that he like over delivered, but at the same time, like the wins that they've gotten, pretty convincing, right? 3D Max didn't even get the double digits against them on 2 maps.
That's the one that like blows my mind the most, like, because I'm English, man. There's issues with the French there. They're like centuries old, so I'm not a massive fan of 3D Max. I don't hide from that, but I consider them to be a pretty stable team. I do respect them, and Mac is one of the only AWP IGLs left, so I'm actually like a big fan of him reluctantly. I don't know how 3D Max lose that game ever. Like that, for me, that's the most disappointing loss of all.
I think it's unfortunate turn of events, because if I think about it, I think the 3 best teams before the FISSURE actually started, I would say that they are 3D Max, Astralis, and Gamer Legion. Out of these 3, 2 teams, which is Astralis and 3D Max, they play well against like tier 1 teams, like top 5 to top 10. You know, like opposition that kind of, their reactions, what they do, it makes sense, and it's easy to prepare for them. They're from the region, etc., etc. But they always struggle against weaker opposition. And ironically, in this tournament, like on the paper, there was only weaker opposition than them. For Gamer Legion, it's a little bit different. I think this was their tournament to win, and they fumbled completely on the stage. But I don't want to discredit them too much, because they really need some of the stage experience first. And I was still impressed with a couple of players. But you can see the contrast. Like their best performer was PR. In the group stage, he was just absolutely abusing everyone.
Ridiculous player.
He was he had a 100 ADR, which is second to behind James Young on the tournament, which he
also
won.
Also a ridiculous player.
He won an MVP, so PR was right behind him, but he completely shit the bed in the playoff in the quarterfinal game against Bad Boom, and that's just part of the process of a young player. I think this was first stage game for him, or something like that. Not the first one maybe, but it's an experience. It's a growth period for Gamer Legion. Even though I feel like if this was an online tournament, I think Gamer Legion is winning it.
Yeah, almost definitely right. And Gamer Legion is a team I wanted to touch up on because obviously they've replaced their AWPer recently. Did you? I know you said you didn't manage to watch too much, but did you manage to watch a Gamer Legion game and see Kersey in action? Do you think his performance is something that he can consistently build upon?
Yeah, I think so. The thing is with Kersey, I knew about him before he joined Gamer Legion. I wasn't even that surprised that he was the one that came to Gamer Legion. We've played him a lot in the first season of the year again when I was IGLing Inner Circle. And we often found ourselves in like same bracket of open qualifiers, and we practiced each other a lot as well. And they beat us a lot of times, and Kersey was probably the X factor in a lot of those games. Like he was surprisingly good. And as I said, one of the first stage games for him on a really big stage, if not the first. So for both of these players, PR and Kersey, who are kind of like star players in this team, besides Res, they still need a lot of growth, and I think Ash is very good at facilitating it, and Gamer Legion in general. I think they have like a pretty big staff, which is super helpful for whenever the young player comes into the team. I would say they overperform, and they're doing something right behind the scenes.
But like how? Because obviously Slend looked pretty solid when he came in, and then he dropped off the face of the earth, which was really disappointing. Like, how do Gamer Legion change so they can prevent that from happening again? Because it's a thing that often happens with AWPers anyway, right? When they come up from tier 2 or 3, they eventually struggle after like 3 months. Like, what can I guess Ash do to stop that from happening this time?
It's hard to say without seeing inside of the team. The reasons why Slend is not there could have been external, could have been internal, could have been both. Probably the visa issue, which was kind of hovering around his replacement by Akar during the tournament in the US. Could have had one factor, but most of the times, what is super hard to teach AWPer is that you need to be more vocal, you need to be more aggressive, you need to make more plays for us, and some players are either not comfortable doing that, or they don't have that creativity or confidence to keep doing that, or sometimes even the team doesn't allow him to do that because of there's too many like rifle space takers, that space taking with AWP can be kind of dangerous or flat out impossible. So for this not to happen, what happened to Slend, I just wish that Kersey will be just much more versatile, and if Ash needs him to out-AWP the other AWPer as a game plan, because you see the weakness in their AWPer, then Kersey is just going to pick up an AWP and just go for the flat like raw duels against an AWPer, which might have been a problem for Slend, because I think for my liking he was a little bit too passive. I'm not sure if that's what he wanted to do or he was forced to do, but versatility is always something like super untangible quality in an AWPer which will make you stay on the team. If you communicate well and you are able to switch off the playstyle between supportive AWPer and aggressive opening AWPer, that is super, super valuable right now in modern CS.
Okay. Well, there's a couple more teams I want to talk about before we move on. So one of them is the defeated finalists, Astralis, right? Because you mentioned PR shitting the bed earlier, and I just can't decide if I think Astralis shat the bed in the final or not. Because for those that didn't watch and haven't looked on HLTV, Hooksy top fragged in the final for Astralis, and I'm a big fan of Hooksy. The bloke should never be top fragging except for the random game where he decides that he actually can aim and does know where his hands are located on his body. But they also lost to TYLOO in the group stage. So is it a bad stylistic matchup? Is it Astralis shitting the bed? Because Jam Young also just rolled them over and fucked them. Like, he went 90 and 56. The next highest kills was 67 in the server. So, like, what's your thoughts? Because I really just can't tell.
It might be the map pool is playing a big role in favor of TYLOO. I'm not sure. Like, Hooksy top fragging in a best of 5 final is something that, well, none of us really expected. But I don't even like, for sure that's a bad thing to like flat out lose in a best of 5 like that. But the group stage loss is even more concerning for me. Like, I keep seeing that's a bigger problem, you know, like it shouldn't be happening. Sure, it was a first game. Actually, it wasn't. It was a winners match that they were playing, so it wasn't even the first game. And even in those moments where Hooksy is already in the playoffs, it's been kind of shown before where, like, some of the star players fell off a little bit whenever under Hooksy's leadership. I think Hooksy is playing much more better individually compared to his previous stints in for example, G2. But I think it's coming at the cost of his star players. Not sure where. If it's like Hooksy is putting himself in like a little bit favorable positions, which are pushing away the star players. But I still cannot like point a finger where the problem is. I just like that Hooksy is performing. That's one of the must factors for Astralis to contend for trophies. But it cannot mean that 3 other players are going to be just a little bit silent, especially during the best of 5 final. You can't afford to have like one bad map, but not like 2 or 3 of them.
So I also realised, like, you know, because of the prize money, at least according to HLTV, Astralis will move up to 6th in VRS, TYLOO will move up to 7th. I feel like we probably both expect both of those teams to drop off a bit. But how far do you think Astralis will drop off? Because I kind of have a feeling it might not be that far.
I don't know. I will take it from the position where I feel Astralis is in terms of power ranking right now, and I think they're like, let's say, top 12 team in the world, like 12th. Okay, obviously give or take 2 positions, but I would give them like this top 10 to top 15 range, and I think that's where they deserve to be right now. They're playing super well. Obviously, 2 consecutive finals might seem like, okay, like I'm trolling a little bit with the power ranking thing, but when I look at how they play and who they play against, that's how I envision them. And as I said before, I think Astralis is extremely good. Like, they rarely blow out against like a tier 1 opposition, like a top 5 team. They always make it a bit competitive. They know how to play against really, really strong players, but they always struggle. You know, like Astralis 3D Max, I would even favor 3D Max to win, even though they're both around the same level. But Astralis, let's say Astralis G2, I think Astralis can win that game. And, you know, even though I haven't seen a new G2, but all I'm saying is that they are like playing differently and better against tier 1 opposition.
Yeah, I can see that. It is. We'll talk about G2 in a little bit, but I think that was the wrong team to use there. I've got good feelings about G2, but yeah, there's one more team that I want to bring up, right? Because honestly, this tournament was a fucking travesty for them, and I am so sick of this fucking team still. Virtus Pro, they tricked me during the major. They looked like a legit team. Again, I was like, alright, maybe I've been wrong for the past couple of years about Electronic and his abilities to IGL, and then they come here and they absolutely stink. Again, they lose to TYLOO with a coach, but this is also, you know, this is the first group stage game. And they just look so hopeless again. It's like, do you think this team can ever pull anything out at this point? Or do you think they still are like, I don't even know, like 2 changes away from actually being
that's what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Like, if you ask me about the roster move, I would say even like this is like 2 roster moves away from like being competitive. But again, first they made a change. First tournament of a season might have been an anomaly, but it's been happening consistently that they are so they're so good players. Like individually, they're insanely good, all of them. And to see them perform this, it pains me. As I'm not even like their fan. I obviously like how they're playing. I like the players, but I understand how hard and difficult it must be for fans to like feel about this team, because I cannot even point the finger like this has to change. Should it be IGL? Should it be like, I don't even want to replace players, because I know that at their peak, their firepower is fine, but to find this peak so infrequently and rarely throughout the year is honestly like that should be an achievement, to play this bad for that period of time. I honestly think like Fame, when for example they were at the major in Rio as outsiders, Fleet as well, like those were one of the most instant players ever. Like they just delete you from the server. Electronic, I've played against him like 20 times. I don't think I've ever won, like back when he was on still flip side, etc. I don't doubt these IGL qualities, but you know,
I certainly do.
I honestly think that whatever Electronic learned throughout his career, it's mostly from Blade. And I don't know if he's trying to form his own like a route, but it's like, it feels like tactically he doesn't know how to use the players correctly, because everyone is just playing bad.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly doubt Electronic's ability to IGL, but I've ranted about that way too much.
Okay.
The one that I just think he, you know, like even with Na'Vi, the second he took over, and I know there's adapting, but you know he never managed to, or he might have won last spring final, but he was behind FaZe in that entire time. But the thing that really baffles me though, right, is I feel like Electronic pretty much has to go. He doesn't have the same level of firepower, and I'm not convinced by him as an IGL. But then you have those reports over the player break that there's these two players in Fame and Flit who both want to leave, and they're both still on the team. Surely that's not something that gets turned around, but maybe you can tell me otherwise from experience in your career.
I didn't even see this rumors, actually. I didn't even see, honestly. Maybe,
I mean,
yeah.
It might have been some overdrive bullshit, but yeah, like apparently they both wanted to go to Paravision to be with Jame, and then VP blocked it or something. Like,
okay, I have a question for you. So do you think Electronic has a space in Virtus Pro if he wouldn't IGL? Let's say he handed the IGL keys to someone else, someone new, I don't know. And then would you see him stay on the team?
Maybe out of necessity.
Okay.
Like if you're trying to keep hold of a core and you're trying to change dramatically, you keep Electronic and hope you get not pre-IGL Na'Vi Electronic. But I've not been convinced by Electronic's fragging ability for a while, which is sad because you know he was unreal.
I think the CS2 change didn't help him at all. Like I think he never really recovered. Well, obviously it was on IGL.
Pre-CS2 though, the drop off? I feel like it was.
It was for sure. Like ever since Na'Vi kind of fell out and went international, that was what, 2023 after Paris Major, right?
May 23, yeah.
Yeah, because JL got bought out from Apex, from us, and that's when international Na'Vi started. So it's been 2 years, but you know, shortly after that Paris Major, actually, like 5 months later, CS2 came out. So it's somewhere there. No, the timeline does make sense a little bit.
Yeah. You kind of forget how long CS2's been a thing, don't you?
Yeah, dude. If it wasn't for HLTV timeline game right now, I would be honestly like so clueless. Like I need to play it every day to kind of keep reminding little trivia for myself.
2 years later and I'm still fucking shooting through people and unable to walk people if there's a 10 ping difference in the server. That's really good. I'm really glad that happens in this game.
Well, anyway, you don't play the game for you know.
I can't imagine. I genuinely cannot imagine what it's like to be in these online tournaments where money is on the line, because you know we play in shit tier face it, like I'm fucking level 8 at the moment, like fighting for my fucking life or whatever. And I played yesterday. It was against a Portuguese team. We had a UK server. It was on overpass, and they were just swinging so fast. Like the peaker's advantage is so unreal that that like angle if you're like Divider and you're looking up at balloons party, whatever you call it. If they just like peak that on go, you could kill them pretty consistently too. It's so fast, man. And then like the concept of that, but like with the added level of like, oh, this is like a 3.5k elo pro player who gets paid to do that. Unreal. So much respect for the people that are like just in online CS having to try and cope with that.
Sometimes you don't know if you just got deleted in the open qualifier by a good peak, or is he actually cheating? And then you check his profile. You never know now. I seen like Inner Circle got. They were playing some open qualifier like yesterday, and they played against cheaters, and it was kind of like obvious from 1 or 2 clips. And you never know. It's
Go on, though.
It's a weird state the game is in, but
admit it. In the back of your mind, you looked at it and you were like, "Nah, fuck you for benching. You deserve this."
No,
go on.
It's fine. I didn't get benched on like a bad terms. It was a little bit unexpected for me because I was supposed to lead the overhaul during the off season. I've had also interview with a new potential player or players. And then, like 2 days after, I was informed that okay, we're buying a core. It's a Polish team. They don't speak English well, or like some of them don't speak English. And there's a captain in that core, and you want to IGL, so we're gonna let you go on the bench, and then we will see how it goes, and maybe we'll bring you back, maybe not. We will see.
Yeah, we're gonna buy a team that already didn't work out in 2023.
It's the VRS system that played me, kind of, if I'm being honest.
Well, yeah. Fucking it sucks. Like, I guess that's the way it is, though, isn't it? So anyway, let's talk about the take of the week, and this comes from. So for context for you, for the take of the week, typically, that Counter-Strike elitist community group thing on Twitter?
Actually, it's pretty funny there. I don't know how to get into community on Twitter. I'm not that good at social media. But whenever some of the things pop up, which is usually some banger because it would never pop up if it was just a community post, I always laugh. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, there's some funny guys in there. There's also a lot of
trolls, rage baiting,
questionable people, because I can't tell, right? A lot of it, some of it is like, all right, that's bait, and then some of it is like, no, I don't know this time, and this is one of those times. It comes from a guy called Born to Kill. The @ looks like it's a bot account, so I'm not going to read that out. But the take has to be real. It has to be real, and it says Karrigan is closer to Snappy than he is to Glaive. I wouldn't even put him in the top 3 IGLs all time. Took a decade for a single major. Glaive won 4 of them, by the way. So I just wondered what your thoughts are on this take, because I think it's fucking mental.
I'm trying to find a narrative here. So Karrigan played, whenever he IGL'd, he was on a really solid team with the solid players, and he didn't need to I don't want to say he didn't need to develop those players, but they knew their shit, like they were probably opinionated, they were very skilled. One time I remember Karrigan not being on such team was envious.
Yeah, good
and
team that.
That was a pain to kind of I guess play there or manage in general and IGL. So, and that one, I think he was there for a couple of months only, and then it disbanded.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think about it that way, where Glaive right now is in a position of ends where he's developing literally academy players, where Karrigan never had to do that. And when he did, which was envious, it was a little bit less skilled players. I'm not saying they were academy players, but it was it was really, really bad. So I think Karrigan, in a way, is a great leader. I'm not sure how good of a teacher he is. Which is completely different quality to have. So you see where I'm going with this? I can see the insane take being insane, but at the same time, Glaive did win a lot of majors. He had an era, and Karrigan was not nowhere near that. Basically, he was. I don't want to say he was lucky to win one major, but he was already close. Like let's say in Boston with FaZe, and then he finally won one of the last CS:GO majors, and it was like ultra carry from a lot of players. Like Rain being MVP is such an anomaly. It's such an anomaly to be an MVP if you're Rain. But you know, Giga Chad does it. I mean, Giga Chad is the Hooksy, so we have 2 Giga Chads right now.
Yeah, Rain is a Giga Chad, but top 3, not in the top 3. I was talking about this with Jack when I found the take of the week to get his approval of it. And it's like, surely there's no world that you don't consider Karrigan a top 3 IGL, because who are you putting over him?
You're putting Apex for sure.
Yeah, Apex has to be in the top 3 at this point. But like, if Karrigan isn't, who is? Fallen? Like, no. Sorry, I don't.
That's a good question.
Like, I don't accept Fallen.
Okay, if you put
being in it.
Vitality and Glaive, then I understand Karrigan might be like top 4 if you have someone biased in the top 3. Let's say Alexi B, right?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
if you finish.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
It's probably the only way you're putting Alexi B in the top 3, surely. Now, like, I'm a big Alexi B fan, but like at that point, I'll accept Fallen and like Pronax and that. I'm not sure Alexi B can be in the conversation, right? Unless you
I mean, you can
subscribe heavily to the idea.
Yeah, listen, you can have Fallen, Apex, and Glaive in the top 3, and that's why he said that Karrigan is not even top 3. It could have been this way.
I just think, like, you know, Fallen never actually won kind of that much, did he?
I mean, he won a lot.
No, he won a lot.
On SK and LG, they had insane run. Didn't they win like back-to-back Colognes as the only team in the world? They won 2 or 3 majors.
Okay. They did win back-to-back Colognes. But they won 2 majors, and everyone talks about that being like SK era.
And he also was doing that while oping, which was kind of rare. And he was top 2 in the world behind coldzera one year. It's not only that his IGL was all right.
His level
was insane
individually.
No,
he was.
And the longevity as well. He did that in CS 1.6. He was already a legend in 1.6.
But okay, so here's the thing though, right? Okay, yeah. 2016. Obviously, SKLG win 2 majors. How many tournaments did they win overall? Because people talk about this like it's an era.
I'm not this kind of a historian. I don't really know. I don't remember. So there were Colognes, right? I'm not sure if one of them was major.
Cologne major, Columbus major, right? They won 2 tournaments for the rest of the year. One was they were
was
both
it beginning
of
Astralis era though?
No, because that was 2018, wasn't it? 2 years before. So they were sandwiched by the majors, the 2 tournaments they won. One was Pro League Season 3, which was a great final between, they were still LG at the time, them and G2. The other one was DreamHack Open Austin, which was a really bad tournament where they played Tempo Storm in the final, which had Henny, Lucas, Bolt, Showtime, and Phelps. Mm-hmm. So this is my whole thing with Fallen, right? I love Fallen. Like I truly like one of the things that I'm proudest of as going to events and doing interviews is that I got to interview Fallen because I've always loved Fallen. But I do think there are certain things about him where people maybe do overrate some of the IGLing a bit, which is why I find it hard to have him in a top 3.
I understand your point of view as well. I really do. It's just that I'm trying to understand the take that you read to me as a hot take. And while I disagree with it, partly I can see why he's thinking what he's thinking. And we're kind of dissecting it that, yes, it might be that Karrigan is not in top 3 when you look at the names of those who won a lot of majors, which is Apex won 2, Glaive won 4, and Fallen won 2 as well. And then when Fnatic won 2, they didn't really have like a proper IGL kind of thing, but you could argue Pronax could be there, but you know, back in the day, it was way different Counter-Strike. It was nowhere near tactical as it is right now.
So I'm intrigued then. Before we talk about Cologne, to wrap it up, let's move past 3. What's your top 5 IGLs?
My top 5 IGLs of all time or right now?
All time.
Yeah, okay, so it's the ones that we mentioned, which is Apex. It's Apex, Karrigan, Glaive, Fallen. And for number 5, this is a good one. I kind of want to say someone that you don't expect at all. But I will say him anyway, just to be a little bit bold.
If you say Chris J...
No.
I'm not sure people are a fan of Chris J anymore. It might be a risky statement.
Okay, I want to say Nitro because of the Grand Slam with like a team from a region that was often just shunned away or shun away. I don't know how to say it.
No, I like that.
So Nitro would be like what he achieved in such a short amount of time in Liquid. I mean, not that he was there for a short amount of time, but winning Intel Grand Slam within like 5 to 6 events and winning 4 of them is pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah, no, I fully respect that take. And fun lore about me. There used to be an account on Twitter that was called Captain Nitro. And because I used to post about how great Nitro was all the time, I had multiple friends that were convinced that I was Captain Nitro, and to this day think I am Captain Nitro. I'm not Captain Nitro. I wish I was. I wish I was because he was really funny. But yeah, it's not me. It's not my alter ego. I am not Captain America himself. All right, let's talk about Cologne then, because it's it's kind of the real season opener, and we go into the play-in first. There's teams like FaZe. I'm just going to read off the team list. It's probably the easier one. FaZe, Big, Liquid Pain, 3D Max, MIBR, NIP, Heroic, Gamer Legion, Complexity, TYLOO, VP, Astralis, Bait, FlyQuest, and Furia. So let's start with this. Let's go with 3 teams that you think are dead certain to go through the play-in.
You're giving me such a hard question. Like, honestly.
Really?
Okay.
You don't think there's 3?
I will say FaZe because fan of Brokey and they have BIG in the opening game. Fan of Brokey coming back in. So I will say FaZe. Then the second team, I want Gamer Legion to bounce back, even though they have super hard bracket of Gamer Legion Complexity and then TYLOO VP. Anything can happen in those 4 teams. Like, literally anyone can bomb out and go through, in my opinion. It's crazy. And then the last team, I would say Astralis, considering their recent run. But again, what I said is that in their bracket, there are 3 other teams which they can have troubles with. Because I said before, they hate to play against like a lesser known opposition. And I definitely can see like even Bait probably could beat Astralis on like, I would say there it would be like 40-16 in terms of Astralis. It can easily be an upset there. But yeah, Astralis, FaZe, and Gamer Legion is something that I want to go for, and I might be completely wrong, but I have other favorites as well. Like in the certain matchups, I have different like types of teams that I would love to go through.
So I think for me, like you've got to go with FaZe, right? Even if Brokey does end up being the wrong decision, I'm very undecided on that one. Like, there's no way they lose to Big. If they have to play Liquid for whatever reason, Liquid are bad. They are bad. And I can't see them suddenly being fixed.
I hope they will have a salvage season. Honestly, like there are so many players on Liquid which I generally like, but what they did during this offseason, I dislike absolutely. It's horrendous decisions in my opinion.
I mean,
all over.
I feel like surely everyone just told them to fuck off. Like they must have been making so many calls like, please come to our team, please. No, dumpster fire. We're all right. I agree though. Like I hope they figure it out because like I've always liked Liquid. You know, obviously I said that I was a big fan of Nitro and NAF. Like I'm a massive fan of NAF. I mean, Naf is just one of the most incredible players to interview, because like maybe you've spoken to him about this and experienced it, but he has the most mental memory of anyone. So I did this interview with him, and it sadly never got made public, but it was about the Grand Slam run. And I said to him, I was like, yeah, so can you just like take me quickly through the tournaments or whatever. This motherfucker went map by map for 3 tournaments. He spoke in detail about every map. I didn't speak for 18 minutes.
Okay, but you have to understand that for players, this is normal. Especially, like, for example, I wouldn't be able... I will tell you my personal experience, okay? I don't really remember stuff from the tournaments, which I don't attend myself. But there was a period last year when I did talent work for Blast at 2 events. I can tell you right now, like, the final standings of like both of these events, right? Because I was there and I had to watch and analyze every single game. It's the same with playing the game. You go there, you play it, you don't remember much after the game finished, but then you rewatch it with a team and the whole game kind of is embraced inside of your head, because either you did a lot of mistakes which you don't want to repeat, either you did some good plays against certain teams which you want to repeat, and you just kind of memorize it internally as a map that this happened, avoid this, do this more. And it's for, even if you interview like or listen to like chess players, they can give you move by move analyzing of a game that was played 20 years ago.
I think it's more like the ability to like recall it and like tell the story of the maps is the thing that impresses me so much, because I've tried to do it with other players. Like I tried to for the same like interviews, I tried to do the Boston Major with automatic, and bless him, he could not, because it was after NAF, so I was like, oh, this would be really good if I can get automatic to do the same thing. No, a few of them he was just
probably
like,
NAF just trolled you and he made up the stories as he went, and he was like, oh, how far can I push this?
I had it up. It was crazy, man. Like I had it up the whole time because there was a couple games I wanted to speak on, and I was like, oh my god, he's actually got the correct score line, like for all of them. Like
that's actually pretty crazy.
The ability to recall it, and tell it in an entertaining story the way he did is just very impressive. But yeah, Liquid are shit. To go back to the point, they aren't very good. Let's hope that's changed. I think NIP are guaranteed to go through. To be honest, I've got a really good feeling about this NIP team, and we'll focus on them very quickly in a minute. And I also think, and I know this is cheating because I said 3, but I really think whichever team wins out of FlyQuest and Furia will win the winners game as well. And I think whichever one loses will win the lower bracket game. I think Astralis and Bait both go out in the play-in.
Okay, that's fair point. I would actually say out of those 4 teams, Astralis and Bait would have the biggest chance of making it through. Meaning that if they would be split up and they would have to play FlyQuest Furia respectively, I would say one of them will make it through. So we have completely opposite take on this part of the bracket. But I think Heroic and NIP is also the game where I think Heroic can easily win. Like 50-50 game, I would say. That's why I wasn't comfortable putting NIP in. And then again, like the winner of that will probably have to face 3D Max, which on paper great team, or was last season, very consistent, but Fisher result is not giving me too much, hope.
Well, that's kind of my thing with Heroic in that matchup. But what is your thoughts on NIP then? Because I think what they did last season is really impressive, and I think obviously we don't know what they're going to be like with this change, but I feel like it's a change that should make them a lot better, because Arosdos or John Sweetrice, as we like to call him on this podcast, he never really adapted to this team. So I feel like they should be better, and I kind of expect them to get into the top 15 pretty quickly.
I also think that they upgraded, that's true. And what NIP did first season was, I spoke about it on the other podcast the other day, but what they did in the first half of the season or like first half of 2025, was done only by 2 teams. NIP went from being unranked to top 25 in VRS Europe, which is super, super rare nowadays with the VRS ranking. I hate it, by the way, that only 1 or 2 teams kind of break through this way. I think it should be more like fluid, but it is what it is. NIP did it. And even though they did it, it was, I don't want to say incredibly lucky, but unlikely, extremely unlikely, because they had to go from open qualifier of PGL, was it Astana, and they made it all the way to a playoff. And, you know, great. They played great at the event. In the close qualifier, they fought for it really, but they almost lost, I believe, in that open qualifier. Like, one of the games were pretty, like, very close. And, you know, if they haven't done that run, maybe NIP would still be, like, battling for CCD invites. We don't know. We don't know. Genuinely don't know. So I think it's NIP and TNL that only did these kind of runs, which I respect them for. Credit to them. But I think it's incredibly bad that only 2 teams kind of can break through and stir the pot of tier 1/tier 1.5/tier 2 from going completely unranked, which is unlucky. But with the Kaspersky coming in, I think it's an upgrade. Specifically against Heroic, though, I think Heroic upgraded as well with well, they didn't really upgrade. I don't know about coaching department, but Griggs is pretty promising, I would say. So I don't know about Nilo. He didn't play well yet in online games. So
yeah, I just have my concerns for Heroic, and then, you know, like in my extra prediction, I feel like Fury are going to bounce back from a pretty disappointing showing at FISSURE Playground, and with FlyQuest, like, I think they upgraded a lot with Netic, and I also think they've upgraded a lot now with JKS. And I kind of feel like if they do well here, get themselves a couple more invites, I wouldn't be surprised to see them hovering around 15th in VRS Global by the major, to be honest. Because I do expect a couple teams to drop off over the second half of the year. I don't know, man. I've got a good feeling about them, I think.
That's enough. Like, having a gut feeling about something. Usually when I have gut feeling, it's completely the opposite. So whatever I say on this podcast, I think you should go with opposite. I think FaZe will bomb out in play-ins. Last place.
Okay. I support it. But so you brought bomb out then. So 3 teams, and we won't talk about them that much because if they're going to bomb out, they're not worth talking about. 3 teams you think will not get through the play-in? Stand no chance?
All right. I think that will be a little bit easier, but I do think it's unfortunately going to be Liquid. I think they're gonna have incredibly tough time and adding a lot of pressure on themselves to perform, because if they don't, I think they will lose a lot of VRS points and potential invites for second part. Basically, if Liquid doesn't perform here, they cannot attend major, in my opinion. Like, I don't think mathematically that's going to be possible. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. They're like barely top 30. If they bomb out here, they're going to be out of top 30 EU. And then another team, which I'm not too sure about, is MIBR. And the third one, dude, you're putting me on the spot again. TYLOO, Virtus Pro. Yeah, I think I will go with FlyQuest as a third team that will not go through.
We are very different on that one then, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it feels like cheating to say Big and Liquid, but Big and Liquid. But scratch off one of them, MIBR, 100%, and then VP. I don't think VP are going to recover. I think they will definitely depart Cologne.
I honestly think that if VP, I'm not sure what's their position in the VRS, all things considered, but if VP bomb out last place in this, do you think they're gonna make a change mid-season?
I think they've got to, right? They're 17th.
That's not that bad. That's still on the brink of invite to the Star Leader Major. So they might push it for it, but if they don't qualify for the major, it's definitely happening.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that'll be a big change at that point. But so let's take a quick look at the main stage teams then
Oh yeah, let's do that.
before we leave. So already through to the main stage is Vitality, G2, Falcons, the Mongols, MOUZ, Na'Vi, Aurora, and Spirit. Now, I don't want to talk about every team here, but there's a few teams I'd like to talk about, and I want to start with Aurora because here on this podcast we are really big fans of Aurora. We've kind of had to reluctantly accept the level that they were actually at, rather than the level we thought they may be able to climb to. But what I want to know from you is how much, because maybe you've had this at some point in your career. Obviously, Anubis was a really, really strong map for Aurora, and Anubis is now gone. How much does losing that kind of guaranteed map win affect you when you're in that position going into the new season?
So the thing is, whenever it happened to me or to us, we cannot let it affect us because it's essentially out of our control, right? If we go on social media and cry about the change, we're just losing time of what we can put into the new map. So I always hated it when people do it, but in my opinion, map veto wise, they're going to be in a lot of disadvantage because it can happen that overpass is not going to be suited for them at all for whatever reason. And I know that it's in a certain parts it's a heavy aim map, which Aurora honestly likes and loves and actually seeks out these fights, but the main guy who seeks for them is not going to be present in Cologne, and that is Xantares, and they have X-Flout coming in as a stand-in. So even though you are a fan of Aurora, I think that's one of the teams that will not have an easy time. I don't think they will make a playoffs. Depending on who they draw in the first round, maybe they won't even win a game in the main stage. Depends. Yeah.
I fully could see that happen.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I just see Na'Vi, Spirit, MOUZ in their group. Obviously, we don't know 4 teams which will join them, but that's already an incredibly tough group when it comes to map veto. Spirit also disliked Anubis. I know Donk specifically disliked Anubis. Every time he could have a chance to talk shit about Anubis, he did it in vlogs. So Spirit is gonna feed off this change the most. Aurora the least. They might end up on the same side of the bracket if they win or lose. So yeah, I think it's not that great.
Yeah, I mean, with Aurora, I think Aurora were beginning to drop off anyway, maybe from the fatigue, or maybe because, tactically they're not as strong as a lot of the other teams in that position. But I really am concerned that this map pool change could kill them. I think they'll be fine on Overpass, but I don't think they'll be able to rely on it in the way that they could rely on Anubis. And it's why I asked about Astralis' VRS ranking earlier, right? Because I was always going to come back to it now, in that when I look at Astralis and their chances of dropping off, I also see a team like Aurora that I expect to drop off kind of quite heavily compared to where they were last season. So I'm like, maybe Astralis can hold a place over then. Maybe they do stay top 10 for the entire season. Because I think we said last week, Aurora, I think we predicted they would just drop out of the top 10 this season.
It might be. It might happen. And it also can happen with team like Mongols. I think people will hold them to an incredible standard after Austin Major. But eventually it might happen that they just overperformed, and that's why they made the final. And we have to be a little bit more realistic. I don't know if it's feasible for Mongols to keep having that kind of a run in the second half of the season where they consistently make playoffs. It's going to be incredibly tough, and if they start the season not that strong here in Cologne, I think it might snowball into them. Yeah, okay, maybe they will secure the major because of the Asian slot, but at the same time, I don't think they will be that dangerous to others as they were in the first half of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I also think I'm also not expecting much out of Na'Vi. I know a lot of people like to doubt Overdrive, but I think, the entire time there was reports about Emma being the one to be cut, and then JL decides he's leaving, and then a report comes out that Na'Vi tried to sign Frozen or whatever, and I just feel like Na'Vi is still coming into this season with a dead team, or a team that they do already kind of want out of. Do you get the same impression? Do you think that's something that can be recovered from? If so, and you can play through.
You mean for which team?
For Na'Vi.
Yeah, I think so. I think Na'Vi is the team that I want to like look out for the most. The change that they have made is kind of unprecedented, with player taking a break at this kind of stage, and as well he had tremendous impact, and they're essentially promoting a guy from an academy team, which is having obviously sick stats and amazing numbers, but is he going to? I don't think he's going to fill the shoes for JL 141, and a lot of things have to happen in Navi to facilitate everyone. So there's going to be moving pieces. Someone will take less space. Someone will have to be more vocal and more of a cheerleader, to cover up for the things that JL was providing for a team. And to be able for Rookie to do all of that is going to be borderline impossible. I don't know Makaze, but it doesn't strike me so. So I wonder how Blade and everyone in Navi is going to fill this hole with restructuring people's responsibilities. That's why I want to see their actual game, not only from replay. Did I just replay the game on demo or Skybox? I want to see it live, and honestly, I want to take a look during the freeze times, who is talking the most, during the tech poses, who is talking the most, how they behave, what's their body language. All these things to me are incredibly important right now. It's, first of all, interests me. Second of all, it really gives you a perspective what's going on in Navi, because right now it's all clouded, yeah, the guy got replaced, and if it wasn't for JL turning into content side, there would have not been much transparency in this kind of a move. But kind of JL brought it, but not the org. And that's why I want to see how they're going to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I don't have the highest hopes though, if I'm being honest.
Specifically for this event or the season overall?
It's season overall.
Okay.
Honestly, I feel like they maybe try and make another change halfway through the season, or if not, they will be making a change at the end of the year, and I consider that to be 95%. But yeah, I wanted to also ask you quickly about Falcons, and then quickly glaze G2 myself, and then leave off with a question. So Falcons, obviously they now have a lot of naturally aggressive players. Do you subscribe to roles mattering? How do you think that they can succeed with this team, or are they still, a roster move away from, okay, this is the Falcons team that can do what they want?
Yeah, I wonder what is the idea behind Falcons. Obviously we know that they want to win the major, right? They want to contend for trophies. Ironically, only trophy happened in Bucharest when it was kind of a dead team, right? And they knew that Dexter is going out, and he just had an MVP-like performance. But if they want to win the majors, they are going the route of firepower, and that is going to put a lot of pressure on Kixan, not necessarily from Colling's perspective, but from him having to fill in a lot of defensive/supportive elements of the game, which I think he's perfectly capable of. But I also see that maybe players like Tesses is going to have to sacrifice a lot, and that can affect his overall performance, which people will then start naturally pointing the fingers towards those with bad numbers, and Tesses is just maybe inevitably going to have those more than before with Magic in the team. So it's hard to say, because they're trying to push for something unprecedented, having 3 players of caliber Nico, Kyosuke, and Monesi is going to take balls to make it work. Hickson does have a balls, I know it from my own perspective, but how it's going to affect the whole team when they don't perform, who's going to pick up the pieces when two of the players are not feeling it, that's going to be the real question, because I just don't know how it's going to play out. It's a one big question mark. I guess I love the move, but at the same time, such a risky move at the same time, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's exciting. I don't think it's going to work out how they think it might. I think Tessez is going to be, like you say, scapegoated for it. But if it does work, we could enter a very fun era in Counter-Strike. But yeah, so I said I wanted to talk about G2. I really feel like G2 kind of won the roster mania. I mean, like Sunpius, great AWPer, saw one of the best coaches in the world. And I also think Mattis is a good pickup. I know, like, I got told and there was reports that they wanted Nerds, and that would have also been great for them. But I think people are probably underrating how good of a pickup Mattis is. Like, yes, their performances maybe still leverage a bit on whether Hunter can adapt to being a full-time IGL. But I just think they've built a really good team. Like, they're apparently 11th at the moment. I expect them to be the team that rounds out the top 5.
Yeah, that's what I feel like as well. Like, if they're gonna have a good season, they want to aim for top 5. And if they're gonna have like an okay-ish season, like this team is a better G2 than it was before. I will get to that later, but I think they will enter top 10 and be there, be like a stable top 10 team. If they want to overperform, then that's going to be top 5, but I don't see them as a title contender just yet throughout the season. I think that this team got 3 upgrades in the off season. Sunpius is obviously coming in and replacing Hades, which was like a stand-in situation. That one is a little bit obvious. I think Hunter can be much better IGL than Snax was. Obviously, he's never done that before, but I'm assuming, mostly I tweeted about this from the voice comms of G2 that they're releasing. I think a lot of like hidden qualities that Hunter has, that I noticed from these voice comms videos, are going to enable him to be really, really smart and good IGL. He's very creative, and he's also having like a calm, like soothing effect on the team, which I think is super, super helpful in an international team, and especially with a rookie like Mattis, because for him this will be the first big test on the big stages. And then also Mattis is, I think, improvement over Hunter in his roles. Obviously it's not going to be role for role, because it doesn't really fit like that. I think MOUZ is going to get some different roles. Mattis is going to have to adapt on some maps, and then Hunter is obviously replacing all Snax roles, in my opinion. So it's going to be, I'm curious how it's going to look at the specific maps, like Dust 2, who is going to be this B anchor, because it might be Mattis or Hunter or both of them, just like when Snax and Hunter was defending B side before.
Well, but, they weren't really defending it.
I would love Mattis to be more flexible and don't put him in an anchor spot where he's not allowed to move. So in Fnatic he used to play this B rotation outside B as a CT on Dust 2, but Hunter played it as well, and he played it pretty well. So I think Hunter might be going that route where he's going to be stuck and glued to the side, how Snax was before, and not this kind of like all-around caller like Apex that is in the part of the action, like Galaxy B that is inside of the action rotation roles. So they have a couple of things how to figure it out, and I really, really look forward how they do this, because So, again, I think it's incredible working with the rookies, which Mattis in my eyes still is. So I think that's a great pickup on 3 fronts. So Mattis is an upgrade, Hunter is an upgrade, Sunpius is an upgrade, and also So is an upgrade over Taz. So 4 upgrades in the off season. I think this is great change. It's not going to make them win the major, in my opinion, but good step forward for G2.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could. I think there's a small chance they could go on that kind of like that Cloud9 Boston style run. You know, they get themselves to 5th over the course of the season, and then the major's there. But we'll see. So I said I had a question to leave this off on. I guess it technically needs to be 2, because otherwise you'll ruin the second half of the question.
Okay.
But just quickly, one word. Yes or no? you expect Vitality to not do this season what they did last season, right? As in winning every tournament.
Yes, I expect them not to win every single event.
Okay, cool. Is it because, Ben, this season, do you expect someone to dislodge them? Or at least be in the process of dislodging them? Like, maybe a Spirit come in and beat them in a couple of finals, but you'd still say Vitality are the best team in the world? Or do you think just how Counter-Strike maybe naturally is as a player, especially when you're at the level Vitality is, that they drop off more than a team rises to their level? Which do you think it will be?
I think Vitality is always focusing on this, and they speak about it in a lot of their podcasts, different players, that they are playing for peaking at the right time. They want to peak during the majors. They want to peak there. I think that they peaked kind of like at the perfect timings throughout the first season, where I think it's so hard, almost, I don't want to say impossible, because that will, I don't see inside of the team, but to maintain that kind of a performance throughout the second half. And then other teams will naturally pick up. Like Navi had a terrible first part of the season. Maybe they will wake up. Maybe it will be FaZe with Broky coming in. Maybe it will be Spirit with a huge change. It's a huge change to change Magix for Zwei or Zwei, or how do you say it? So I think these changes that were done in a top 5, top 6, top 7 teams were indirectly attempts to push Vitality off of top 1, and I think all of these teams made a dangerous change that it's going to be very unlikely that none of them stick, and actually Vitality will overcome all of these threats. Even the Falcons change is designed to decrown Vitality. It might not be the best, and it's certainly a bold decision, but I'd love to see it play out.
Okay then, one final yes or no. Will Vitality be the number 1 team at the end of the year?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, with that, thank you very much for joining me. It's been a lot of fun, and I've really appreciated getting to hear your thoughts on all the teams. I don't know if there's anything you want to plug before we depart. Any other podcasts you've been doing that maybe you had fun doing?
I mean, I have my share of free time right now, so I'm trying to do a lot of things at the same time, also focusing on content a little bit, but I don't have any plugs in. I just generally want to thank you for reaching out, agreeing for me to talk here, and for the viewers and listeners to hopefully they had a good time, and see you sometime soon.
Yeah, man, it was a pleasure. I've had a great time, and you brought up your content there, so I'll make sure our editor puts a link to your YouTube somewhere, because you do make some pretty good content over there. But with that, I've been Sam. My Twitter is the same bollocks it always is, and I'm not being funny. If you don't know STYKO's Twitter on YouTube, what are you doing? Yeah, this is your error. Fix it immediately. Other than that, we've got a new editor now. Charlie's edited it. James is still doing his. I don't know what it. James does things. I don't know what he does. But I guess I'll see you next week, and STYKO, I'll see you when I see you, mate.
Yep, thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank you, man.